You think you know what a castle is. You see the tall walls, the towers reaching for the sky. You imagine kings and queens in halls filled with music and light. You must forget the fairy tales. Forget all of it. At night, a castle is not a home. It is a tomb made of living stone, and its guardian is a monster you cannot see. It is a presence you feel creeping deep into your bones. It is the cold. During the day, there is a lie. The sun warms the outer walls, a fleeting, false comfort. The courtyard rings with the sound of the blacksmith's hammer, the barking of hounds, the chatter of men and women at work. There is life here. There is movement. It almost makes you believe you are safe. But then the sun begins to die. The light blades out of the sky. The sounds of the day fade one by one, until all that is left is the lonely howl of the wind. The last embers in the great hall put up a brave fight. They paint long, dancing shadows on the walls. For a moment, these shadows look like ghosts of the day's laughter. Then they too surrender to the darkness. It is a battle that is always lost, every single night. That is when we retreat. We do not go to our rooms. We go to our defensive corners, our small pockets of perceived safety. The sacred nightly ritual begins. It is the hunt for warmth. You see, the cold is clever. It does not attack all at once. It waits. It is patient. It lets you feel a moment of security behind a heavy tapestry or under a thin woolen blanket that smells of damp and smoke. It lets you feel a flicker of hope. And hope is the cruelest thing in this place. The hope that this night will be different. It never is. Falling asleep is a battle in itself. First, there is the shivering. It is a tremor that you cannot control, a desperate attempt by your own body to generate a spark of heat. You curl into a ball, tucking your hands and feet close, trying to protect your core. You listen. Every sound is magnified in the oppressive silence. The skittering of a rat in the walls sounds like a drum. The moan of the wind through an arrow slit sounds like a wail. And all the while, the cold probes your defenses. It finds the tiny gap where the blanket has slipped from your shoulder. It flows like water along the cold stone floor, seeking you out. It is a physical weight, a pressure that makes your chest feel tight. It whispers to you, a silent promise of a final, peaceful sleep, a sleep from which you will not wake. Its worst attack always comes in the dead hour, the deep and endless moment just before the dawn. It is when all embers have finally turned to cold, grey ash. The silence is so thick and so complete that you can feel it ringing in your ears. Tonight, I felt it more than ever. I woke not to a sound, but to the lack of one. The warmth from the stone I was hugging was completely gone. The chill was no longer outside my blanket. The cold had found its way inside my cocoon. It started as a light touch, almost a caress. An unseen, icy finger tracing the line of my spine. Then the numbness began to spread. It crept into my fingers and my toes, a slow tide of nothingness. I tried to move them, to feel them, but they were distant, like they belonged to someone else. That is when the real panic set in. It was not the kind of panic that makes you scream. There is no breath for that. It is a quiet, cold panic, a silent scream inside your own mind. It is the raw, primal fear that if you let yourself fall back asleep, you will never wake up. The cold was winning. I could feel myself letting go. I lay there, frozen, certain this was the end. The fight was too hard. The warmth was just a memory. But then I felt it. Something else. It was so faint at first, I thought I had imagined it. A small, warm puff of air against my cheek. Then again. It was a breath. A small, warm breath. I felt a slow, steady rhythm against my back, a gentle beat, a quiet drum of life. It was my younger sibling, huddled close behind me, asleep in the shared misery. And in that moment, everything changed. I understood. My fortress was not the stone walls around me. It was not this pathetic, useless woolen blanket. My fortress was this small, fragile circle of life. My enemy was not the cold. That is just nature, uncaring and vast. My true ally, my only shield, was the warm breath of the person beside me. We could never defeat the cold. That would be impossible, but we could keep each other alive inside of it. The warmth we created together was more powerful than any fire. So tonight, when you pull your blankets tight in your warm, quiet room, I want you to remember us. Remember that for centuries, humanity's greatest defense against the dark, against the unforgiving cold, was never a castle wall. It was a shared breath. It was a quiet heartbeat in the dark. It was a hand to hold when the silence became too much. And now you should sleep well. And be grateful for the warmth you have. Be truly grateful.